Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So today is this a little bit late for a wrap up? I don't think so, but we're talking about the books that I read in June today. Don't have a whole lot actually to talk about. I have 10 books, but 5 of them are manga from the same series. So it's like 5 books and then 5 from the same series. So not a whole lot to talk about. So it'll probably be one of the quicker wrap-ups that I have on the channel. I will make sure to leave links to all of the books in the description box down below if you want to go check them out. And also it is Saturday evening, so if you hear noise, I don't know, people have friends over. Not me though, I'm sitting on the floor in my office talking about books to you guys. But there may be noise coming from my surroundings. We're just gonna ignore it. Okay. So let's get started, shall we, with the first one. One that I'm actually a little bit nervous to talk about, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA fantasy with romance. Is it a bit of a romantasy, a YA romantasy? Yeah, just like a little bit. It's about a girl, an ordinary, who's living in a world that is run by people with powers. She does not have any powers. She has, throughout the years though, trained herself to kind of be able to read people. And so she can pass as a psychic, which is not really a proper power per se. It's like one of the smaller ones, and she can kind of get by that way. So she's not been busted, because ordinary people are not supposed to be in this world, or like in this part of the world at least. One day she comes across a situation. One of the princes is being attacked by a group of other elites, as they're called, the people with powers. And she saves him, and in the process of doing that, she kind of qualifies herself for these trials that are called trials that are taking place. The trials are like a competition sort of thing, and you can only enter if you are an elite. Obviously, if you're an ordinary, you are... So, but she is nominated for it and has to partake in it. And so during those, she gets closer to the Prince Kai, but also to the crown prince, whose name is Kit. So they're brothers, Kai and Kit. And all the while, she is also hating on the king because the king killed her father. There's a whole thing. I don't really know what else to say about this. In terms of like, or at least when it comes to the summary. I feel like that covers it pretty well. If the trials and the opponents within them don't kill her, the prince she's fighting feelings for will, if he discovers what Peyton is, completely ordinary. Because he's the enforcer, so he has to enforce the laws. I don't know if you can see a pattern here. But anyway, he has to enforce the laws, so he's the one that actually goes around and unalives the ordinaries if they're ever found out. He's not evil, he's not pure evil, he doesn't kill children. I said the K word, I'm gonna stick with it. He doesn't kill children, but he does what he has to do. He does his job, etc, etc. I will say, I enjoyed this. Like, I'll take this for what it is. It's fun, it's YA. Is it super amazing? No, I don't think so. It might also be that I'm not really in a YA phase these days, and so it doesn't hit the same way it would have maybe 2 years ago. But it's also that throughout reading this, I got this constant feeling that it's like Hunger Games, but make it fantasy, but with a twist on the some have powers, I don't. And there's this world building in it as well. Hunger Games is, I feel like, it has a fully fleshed out world and system, and it's still YA, so this feels a little bit simplified compared to that. And then there was another thing that I also wanted to point out, and that is that especially Prince Kai's dialogue was so quotable to a point where I'm like, why is this so flowery? Like, why is he talking like this? Nobody talks like this. Why is everything he says, it sounds like it's meant to be taken out of context and quoted possibly on social media. Every time he says something, I'm like, and then they had a color scene, which is basically just taken out of Hunger Games. Let me see if I can find a non-spoilery example. Like, their dialogue with each other just kind of seemed a little bit stiff. I'll never deny myself the chance of watching you watch me. You'll never learn if you keep watching your feet gray. Eyes on me. Like, it's just, okay, maybe I'm not saying it in a way. And I feel like if you say it the right way, everything's just very quotable, and I can't look past that. It just seemed very quotable. On top of that, I watched and I haven't really been able to completely pinpoint it until I watched a TikTok earlier today that was like, have you guys noticed how simplified the language is in Powerless? Because the ordinaries are called ordinaries, the people with powers are called elites, the trials are called trials, the enforcer is called the enforcer, the sickness that, well, the plague that hit the land and caused people to have powers in the first place. I think that was called the plague. Like, they literally, everything is just called exactly what it is, and I'm sure that some people appreciate that, enjoy that, but for me, I love when everything has like a little fantasy twist to it. Come up with the weird names. I don't care if I'm gonna struggle pronouncing it or figuring out how it's actually pronounced. Just make weird names for things. I enjoy it, you know? So that was the thing. But I think overall I did enjoy it. It was very bingeable, but it just wasn't as amazing as I was hoping it would be. So, still gonna continue the series. I think I am gonna order Reckless very soon. But yeah, just a certain couple of like things I wanted to highlight about Powerless where I was a bit like, okay, that's kind of strange. I honestly can't tell if they're fighting next door or if they have guests. Like, I don't know. Anyway, not my business. Another one we're talking about. Let's talk about King of Wrath by Ana Huang, which is the first in the Kings of Sin series that I have found out. I actually thought it was only going to be four books, despite knowing that there's 7 deadly sins. I thought it was going to be 4 books because I figured there's no way she's going to do 7 books. She's going to be very particular with which sins she chooses. So like the obvious ones, pride, wrath, lust, you know, it's not a Huang. But no, we're doing all of them. Just doing all of them. The envy one is gonna, I am not a jealous human being by any means. Like, I truly don't think I have ever seen someone I've crushed on or that I've been with interact or whatever with someone else and just been like, oh, you stay away from them. They're mine. Like, I've never, honestly, I don't know if that's weird. I haven't really felt jealousy like that. But I also know that jealousy and envy is not necessarily the same thing, because envy is more like, I want what they have. Jealousy it's more materialistic envy. Anyway, it's completely sidetracked. But I know that one is because when it comes to characters, book characters, whenever there is the slightest insinuation that a character is cheating on someone, I'm like, no. I get so uncomfortable. I feel it in my entire body. I can't handle it. Or not even cheating. If they're not together, but like one of them is out with someone else, I'm like, oh no, it's my whole world is crumbling. I can't handle it. But I never feel that way about myself and like my situations. Is that weird? It probably is. Anyway, so I know that book is gonna cause me some issues. King of Wrath though. In this one, it's like arranged marriage, sort of, but the guy's being, it's a girl and a guy. And the guy's being blackmailed by the woman's father. And so he's not there by choice by any means. He's also very set on finding or like making the evidence for this blackmail situation go away so he can take this father down and like step on him, ruin his life. Also end this arranged marriage thing. But as they're together, spending more time together, they get closer, and suddenly he's like, maybe I don't want to end the engagement. Maybe I just want to stay with him. I still kind of want to take her father down, but I kind of want to, like, you can't have both. How do you ruin the father and his family and their money and stuff without also letting it out on your fiance? So anyway, that's a whole thing. This felt slightly different for Ana Huang, at least compared to the Twisted series. It actually was a lot sweeter, I think. I feel like it was a lot sweeter, which is funny because he's King of Wrath. Is he supposed to be like super angry or something? I mean, he was angry. Don't get me wrong, he was angry. He was angry with the father. But it felt a lot sweeter compared to some of her other books, namely the Twisted series. So that was a thing. I know that's been a thing I've seen in other people's. I agree. But I know it's also been for me, it doesn't have to be like super smutty for me to read the books. I don't necessarily only want smut in my Ana Huang books. I enjoyed this a lot, but I know it's been a thing for some other people that it does read a little bit less smutty than her Twisted series. I think there's gonna be more to it than that though. Keep in mind that these are also 2 people who just don't want to be close to each other. So there's a bit of a build-up. But I like this a lot, and I'm excited to see where the rest of the series is gonna go. I love myself a good romance, so why are there 3 scratches on my cover? I haven't even read this copy, by the way. I read it on Kindle. I just have the books because I love supporting authors. Okay? Anyway, it was great. It was good. I am looking forward to the rest of the series. Kind of wanting to read it with a book club, but we'll see if I manage to... We have a lot of stuff to read with the book club, okay? 2 books that surprised me. What is the last one that I read on... Oh, let's talk about that one first. So, I read one that's actually smuttier than I expected it to be. So like the opposite of this one. I had an arc of Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I don't have a physical copy of it, but I do want one, so I'm probably gonna get one at some point because again, we love to support authors. Arcs I get for free, so if I like them, I would prefer to also have a physical copy of the book. But I read Not in Love, and it's about 2 characters that have kind of gone through they have a lot of emotional baggage with them. They have not had easy lives and they're dealing with each of their things. And all in the meantime, they're also trying to, like, there's definitely an attraction between them and they're trying to work this out in their own awkward way because they don't really know how to deal with this. And so a lot of it ends up being physical instead of emotional, if you get what there's still emotions, but a lot of it ends up being very physical. The story is though that our girl works for a company. She works in like she's an engineer, I think she is this time. And I say this time because Ali Hazelwood's books are often about women in STEM. I think her whole focus was trying to conserve food's shelf life. So that's what she focuses on. But she works for this company that is owned by one of her friends. And it's being bought indirectly by this group. And our guy is a part of this group. So they meet before this actually starts happening. It's basically they meet in the evening the day before this whole meeting where everyone finds out that the company's being bought, and suddenly it's like there's an attraction, and then the day after nothing happens, but the day after it's like, oh gosh, she's on the opposing team, what do I do? So she feels kind of, it's weird because like they're not, like they don't feel like they're welcome to buy the company, and so she feels like she is letting her friend down by actually being attracted to him, but she also can't really stay away. There's a whole thing, and they're working out their emotional baggage with each other as well as the story goes on. So it was lovely seeing a little bit of a different vibe from Ali Hazelwood because she mainly writes rom-coms, and this definitely didn't feel like a rom-com. There wasn't a whole lot of comedy in it. There was some, but it was definitely more of like, I forgot what she calls it in the intro. She did a whole like a small letter before the start of the book, a little bit of a disclaimer if you will, where she's explaining it's not a romantic comedy, it's more like a romantic love story or whatever it was called. I can't remember the exact term for it. All the little nuances in publishing, I don't really know. I just know it didn't really read like a rom-com for a change from her, and I really enjoyed it still. Not as much as her other novels, but I still really enjoyed it. It was a little bit long drawn at times. A lot of the twists were kind of like, you know, was kind of expecting them. But I am a sucker for seeing people work through issues, even if they're not fully resolved by the end of the book. Just knowing that they're on their road to a healthier existence, if you will, makes me very happy. So I still very much enjoyed it. I wasn't really necessarily in the mood for like, it didn't have to be a rom-com that I was going into, and so it didn't like do anything negative for me that it turned out not to be one. Very thankful for the disclaimer at the start of the book, so just so I knew what to expect. Because when you go into Ali Hazelwood's books, you often expect more rom-com vibes. So that was good. But yeah, I would definitely recommend. I love Ali Hazelwood, so I might be slightly biased, but I'm gonna stick to it. I would recommend. An actual kind of rom-com. Is it a rom-com? I feel like it might be a rom-com. Sort of. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, which, this is the Afterlight edition, by the way. This, I believe, is a debut, actually. It read so well. I surprisingly enjoyed, like, I mean, I enjoy romance books a lot, but I wasn't really expecting much from it, to be honest. Like, I don't know why. But I really surprisingly enjoyed it so much. So this is also because it's a second chance romance. Technically, it's a second chance romance. And I'm not generally into those. They're not, no. Like, I don't know. They're just generally not for me, but this was for me, okay? This I loved. It's told over 2 storylines, or 2 timelines. So we follow them in the then, and then we follow them in the now. Then is when they met and they started their thing, and then in the now they've broken up after not really being together. Per se, it's a whole thing in the book. Trust me. we're not going to get into it too much. Our lead girl just is very adamant on not dating, so you can take from that what you will. But in the now, we follow them as they have to work together because she's a wedding planner and he does flowers, or is a florist. I think that's the title, florist. His name is Elliot Bloom, by the way. I really like Elliot. I think I talked about him in my mid-year wrap-up thing, I forgot what it's called, because he seems a little bit atypical for a lot of romance books guys, a lot of romance book boyfriends. He is not necessarily super experienced in the, you know, and he's just kind of like going for, like, it seems so realistic. It just seems so realistic, and I was enjoying it so much. I also like that she was a little bit, she's not bossy per se when it comes to that, but she's the bossier one. It was just very nice to not see, I love Mana Huang men, okay, but they're all like kind of slutty, okay? I say that with love and compassion. I don't judge people on their body counts, but they've been around a little bit, you know what I mean. They've gained some experience throughout the years. Elliot has not. Elliot has not gained experience throughout the years. He does have a little bit, but it's like, it felt so natural, like it felt so realistic. I don't know how else to explain it. And it was just nice, like a little bit of a switch up from the super experienced guy. I like when not all book boyfriends end up being the same. And so it was nice just seeing a little bit of a variety to it. He's very quiet as well, but he's like constantly keeping an eye on our girl. And I love that as well. I don't have any allergies. I don't have anything that requires constant attention in any way, or like that I need to keep in the back of my mind throughout the day. I don't take medicine like that other than sleep medication. But the thought of someone actually like remembering that, oh, she can't eat this. Like she had peanut allergies or something. Apparently it really gets me. I'm like, that's so amazing. He remembers she has peanut allergy. It's just this like keeping them in mind. Like, I don't know what it is, but I really like that. I also love when people remember that I don't like tomatoes or ketchup, you know? I'm like, oh, you know I don't like ketchup. I know, it speaks to me on some level. It's not the same as an allergy, I realize that. Like, I won't have issues if I eat ketchup. I just don't like it. So like there's less responsibility, but it's just the whole like remembering that apparently really gets me. I'm like sold. I'm sold. So anyway, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was beautifully written as well. The whole flow between the two timelines was great. It worked so well, and I think I have a thing for stories like that too. Obviously it kind of needed a little bit to be a second chance romance, because otherwise you wouldn't have this two timelines, or the other way around. No, I don't know how to explain it, but hopefully you get what I mean. So, but it was a pleasant surprise. Read it. If you're looking for a romance, you should read this one. It was great. Give it a go. Give it a shot. I'm so happy that I have this edition now. Anyway. And then lastly, before we talk about Berserk a little bit, again, I read Legends and Lattes and I finished it a couple of days ago. I'm going to include it in this video anyway, but this is a cozy fantasy. It's tagged as cozy mystery on Goodreads, which does make sense because there's not a whole lot of mystery to it. And then it says high fantasy and those stakes on the cover, and I'm like, it's not high fantasy because high fantasy has high stakes. It doesn't make sense. I don't really know. So this one is going to be probably a little bit controversial for me. Oh no, are we getting into drama? This is by Travis Baldry, by the way. I forgot to say. But I think, actually before we get into it, let's talk about what this book is actually about. So we follow Viv, I think her name was, as she is putting aside her sword. She is an orc. I'm pretty sure she's an orc. And so she has been on the go for a long time, you know, battling, fighting and stuff. And she just wants to put aside her sword, hanging up on the shelf, whatever, you know what I mean. Hanging on her shelf. Doesn't make any sense. And start a coffee shop. Coffee is a novel concept in this world. By the way, people don't really know what it is, so it's like the first coffee shop in this town that she settles down in. And so people are very intrigued. That's the whole thing. But it's about her basically starting this coffee shop and introducing workers and employees, and also how she finds Tandri, was that her name? Tandri, yes. Who is this one? And like they have a little bit of a love story as well and stuff. So it's about that, but it's a very, very short story. It's about 220 pages. I thought it was going to be a whole 300. 220 is too short for me personally, unless it's a short story. But then it has to be a little bit shorter than that. And I don't know, I like the whole concept of it, I will say. It's like kind of like a D&D world, which after playing Baldur's Gate 3, I'm all into that. So that's good. I love that. But other than that, it felt like, for me, it felt like it didn't really have a purpose. Like there was no purpose to it. There was no like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Because then it was resolved on the next page. It just, at times, felt like it was just words on paper. Or in my case, because I read it on my iPad, words on screen. It just didn't feel like there was a drive to it. I had to kind of force myself to continue at times as well. When finally something happened with the romance, I wasn't really feeling it either. Like, there wasn't an intention building up to that either. It just felt like words. And I don't know, maybe cozy stories just don't really get along with me. I don't know, or I don't get along with them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it just wasn't the right time. Maybe it's because I'm kind of tired these days. I need something that's a little bit more upbeat. Or not upbeat, but like a little bit more fast-paced. A little bit more, oh no, drama. Or something like that. You know, maybe I just need something with some stakes to it. Some drama to it. Oh no, will they be fine? maybe it's just that. Maybe I'm just reading it at the wrong time or something like that. Because I could feel like I can see myself liking a story like this, but all the while reading it, I was just thinking, when are we actually getting to this stuff? Which is not what you want to read or not what you want to feel when reading. And so, I don't know. I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'll give it another go at some point. Borrow it from Libby again once I've read something super dramatic and I just know that I need a breather or something in some months or maybe a year from now. I'll give it another go, but for this time it didn't do it for me. I think that's the best way I can say it. I like Thimble though. Thimble was cute. And so we are left with Berserk. Now Berserk has become an obsession with mine because some of you guys may know I'm a gamer gal. I actually hate that. I play games. I have been playing games since I was like 6 years old, and that's a while ago. It's a long while ago. So Berserk is my newest obsession. Well, my newest obsession is probably Baldur's Gate 3, but before that it was Elden Ring. And still kind of is Elden Ring. DLC which was just released not too long ago. So it's kind of rehashed everything. But the creator of Elden Ring and FromSoft Games, which is the developer behind Elden Ring, his name is Miyazaki, and he's obsessed with Berserk. So he often takes inspiration from this series for his games. And so I've been reading a lot of Berserk to kind of fill up this empty space that I have when I don't get story and stuff from those games. Because there's a lot of inspiration taken from this series. This is horror, it's fantasy, it's about demons and monsters and a guy with a humongous sword. Not all of it is very clean either. This is like a very tactically placed sticker right there. Did they really make that the front page? Anyway, he's got a huge, ginormous sword, as you can probably tell. His name is Guts, too. And it's about him... How much can I say? The thing is, I read the first 2 volumes last year, so I'm a bit like, what even happened in them? Something has happened to a group that he traveled with at some point, and he needs revenge on a person who did something to them. And so it's mainly about that, and him also killing monsters. I think I have like 3 volumes left until the first story is done, or something like that. I can't remember what my brother said. I might have to ask him, because it's like split up over arcs, essentially. And so, oh wait, no, he said that the first arc was supposed to have stopped at like the most depressive or the most depressing point of the story. I'm like, why would they do that? What the heck? I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but it's like the worst possible point you could possibly end this story. Like, anyway. So yeah, you can probably tell there's a lot of feeling in this, a lot of mistreatment of humans in general. I will say one thing, and this is something that the author himself has also, he's passed by the way, but when he was alive, he also acknowledged this. Treatment of women in the series is not great. So if that's something, I won't excuse it. That's the wrong choice of word. I will acknowledge it, and like I keep it in mind, but I also will acknowledge that he did own up to it and apologized and made it better throughout the series, to my knowledge. But there's definitely been points where I'm like, that didn't make any sense. Like there's a badass woman in this who's a soldier. She's the commander or something like that, general. I can't remember her title. And because she had her period one day, she wasn't able to pick up her sword. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I can still leg press over 100 kilos when I'm on my period. What do you mean? Doesn't make any sense. So, you know, there's a couple of things like this. She also very often ends up naked, not necessarily by choice. And I'm a bit like, is she ever gonna show up on page clothed again? Like, so I fully acknowledge that treatment, especially of her throughout the series, it's not great. And I'm not okay with it. I'm enjoying the rest of the series though, so I'm gonna continue it, but it is something that I wanted to point out as well, because acknowledging it also means that I have to tell you. But I feel like it's a unique story. I feel like it has a lot of originality to it, and I'm loving the action and the monsters, and I want to see it continue. I have to put them like this so you can see the cover. My hand's not made to go this way, I think. But yeah, I read these 5 volumes, so my brother has a lot of them, so I'm borrowing them from him, and I've run out of volumes, so I need to get in contact with him. Yes. But that was it for this month's wrap up. So not a whole lot of books. Everything's just going slowly with work as well, and I've been playing Elden Ring. So, trying to get those bosses down. Like, Elden Ring's DLC is hard. I finished it though. I'm good. I'm a good gamer. Pat myself on the shoulder. But anyway, if you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear you out. Again, if you want to check them out, because you haven't read them and you want to just know the summary a little bit better than I explained it to you, there are links to all of the books in the description box down below. Maybe with the exception of the different Berserk volumes, I'll just link one. You'll get volume 1 linked there. But that is all I got for you guys today, so I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, so we do TBR videos and unboxings and literally all of it, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. However, that is all I have for you today, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye! Oh, you know you're beautiful.